we all have elements of us that are swept under the rug. And I guess the big thing I feel like when it comes to dark energy is that most guys sweep it under the rug. And as a result, when you can't use that form of energy to do what it's meant to do with it, then you turn towards negative ways of using it, right? So, like if I have a desire to dominate, a desire to compete, and society sees that society does not promote competition, then I'm going to seek that in negative ways. So, like, for example, with myself, when I was in college, I I fucking sold Xanax because I saw people around me that had a nicer pair of shoes on their feet, had nicer clothes, were getting with better women, and for a really long time, especially when I got into college, like I was a very quote unquote positive person where I was helping a lot of my friends out, helping them out with different shit. Those same people, when I needed them the most, the people that I was providing for financially, I was helping them out, buying them stuff. When I needed them, they were not there for me. And so I feel like because I had all this negativity built up in me, like that's kind of when I got into all the red pill content. That's when I found the red pill content on YouTube. I think that was probably when it was just coming to the surface too. So that hit home with me to the point where like I was still too afraid to seek competition in healthy ways. So I was seeking for it in unhealthy ways. And I guess just like, I don't know, you got to be able to use that dark energy to your advantage rather than to your disadvantage.
So, what would be an unhealthy way versus a healthy way?
Yeah. So I think an unhealthy way would be seeking or unhealthy, unproductive. So instead of going out and trying to get women using porn, beating my meat, or instead of trying to start a business, make money in an ethical way, going and selling drugs, or instead of trying to go out and get women and just be honest and upfront with your intentions, raping a chick. And I probably shouldn't have said that word on this podcast, but
Whatever, man.
yeah, I feel like that's got to be a big one. Like there's a lot of different ways out there where if you don't use that side of yourself, it's gonna come out one way or the other.
It kind of makes me think that then, because each of those are almost like polar opposites of each other. So, when you have too much dark energy inside you that isn't being harnessed in the correct direction, it has a way of inverting itself and festering for a while, and then it just explodes randomly into all these chaotic different ways. And so it kind of, like, to me, kind of reminds me of like the Stoic path in a way, of how the most noble thing is to control yourself and like exert your energy strategically and do the right thing. And everyone else is usually just very sloppy in everything that they do. And so that's where we see these explosions all over the place. Makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I think you need to find some balance to it because I think a lot of guys will have something negative happen to them. I think people who have maybe had a harder upbringing or had harder circumstances or just something that kind of sent them over the edge. And then they will completely take a 180 turn towards now everything they do is fueled by hate, is fueled by trying to prove other people wrong. And a lot of times then they end up burning themselves out, and then they go or something. I feel like that side of energy can be very helpful for pulling yourself out of a rut. Like for me, when everything crashed and burned for me, my car broke down. It was going to be 8 grand in repairs because the engine blew out. I was supposed to get a promotion at work. They never gave it to me. They were paying me $14 an hour. I was living off of drug money that I saved up in college. I burned through all that, being a dumbass, going out to the club, and then getting back on the Xanax. And then all my friends basically had no respect for me because of the shit that I was doing and because my mental health was so fucked. So all of them kind of exited out of my life. And there was just, I had so much pent up anger that by the time I left that job, basically got fired, however you want to word it. My first couple months, like, were almost entirely my first couple months. When I quit that finance job, I went towards becoming a personal trainer. And like, dude, I had $200 in my bank account. And my parents told me, don't come back home because you just fucked up that whole job. You fucked up everything we've ever given to you. So that just drove me into like so much anger. And honestly, the first year that I was training, the first year that I was making YouTube videos was almost entirely fueled by hate. And I was looking back on some of my older videos today, like videos from 7, 8 months ago, and I almost want to bring like a portion of that back because there was so much more realness to it that I feel like I don't have as much of right now. But that anger allowed me to pull myself out of the depression, get off the drugs, start working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. But like, it also only takes you so far because I feel like if you just carry that with you and you live your entire life based off the past, you're going to hit a point where you crash and burn, or you're just going to like always suffer from self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, because you're not willing to accept success into your life. Like I have a guy in my coaching program that was basically telling me like he had a point in life where he was too complacent and he got fucked over. And now he's like sleeping 3 hours a night, has like 3 different businesses. And I'm like, well, how long do you think you can maintain this? And he's like, probably not that long, but I feel like I don't want to let go of that side of myself that's still trying to prove the past wrong. And I'm like every time something good happens in him to his business or something good happens in his business, he doesn't see it as a win. He doesn't see it as a success. And that's not being able to use the light energy, because the light energy is being able to see those wins and use them to your advantage. But I just think a lot of guys swing too far in one direction or the other. They get hurt, they get a breakup, maybe they lose their job, they get fucked over, and then they just become this entirely dark person that can never then level up past that, right? They'll pull themselves out of like the worst scenarios, but then they can't really elevate to that next level. A lot of other guys will just be these happy-go-lucky motherfuckers where they're entirely emotional, almost like a woman, where like anything good happens to them, they get a compliment, they're extremely validated by it. But then when something negative happens to them, they turn. And it's like, you need to find some sort of balance between it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, those are the two common patterns and roads that you go. You don't typically find someone that's mastered both ends because it's really hard to actually. It's actually the most disciplined path because it's super easy to just go out there and be a savage and cause a ruckus. It's like the easiest thing in the world. And it's even probably easier to be super emotional and just kind of blend into wherever you go. And so you have to hold that inner strength of what you are, but also kind of allow yourself to dissolve when it needs to for other things. And that's where I think you have to have the self experience. You just have to be in so many different places all at once just to figure out who you are. You have to balance that fluid identity of yourself.
Mhm.
And that's I guess my only really pro that I came up with when I was kind of growing up, the thing that really helped me the most is I had some friends, but I just didn't really value relationships or people or what they thought because I was kind of in my own little world all the time. And so whatever you told me, just like get fucked, I don't really care. Like if you're not going to agree with me, literally go away. And that ended up helping me a lot actually because I developed so many capacities about myself, which turned out to really help me. So I just wasn't hanging around too many people. I just didn't like people. I still don't like people. And I think that that helps me a lot, but I'm also entering to my own phase here where I want to start working with clients of my own. I want to extend my own design business and start making websites for people and start to be taken seriously. If I'm known for someone that doesn't care about people or like get fucked, then people aren't going to like me. So even if it's against my nature of I just kind of want to be alone in my own little spot, make coffee and be on the computer, like that's my optimal world. There's a part of me I have to develop or grow into something that I don't yet want to be, but I just got to do it because that's what the next level of the game requires me. And so if you are able to kind of balance out that next thing that you have to do, like it's what you're supposed to do, but you probably don't want to do it, but you still do it, that's when you're balancing yourself.
And
Because either of those
always,
sides are kind of caving into what you're most leaning towards. You're dark, you're just going to go towards dark. Or you're emotional, you're just going to go to that. There's no strategy.
right. Yeah, I feel like you always got to lean in towards the resistance because that's where the growth is. And I can relate to that what you said about naturally you kind of isolated yourself. I've done that like a lot. But now my thing too is I'm coaching. I need clients. And my biggest issue is now kind of lacking charisma because I'm self isolated for so long. So I can definitely relate to that.
I mean, whenever I feel like I'm in that kind of spot, you just got to change up everything about yourself. And it's not to even look at whatever you're doing as bad or wrong. But I mean, like, go out to the bar, go have a drink, go talk to someone, like, do things that are completely not what you're supposed to do, not my identity, not me, and just go do it for a day and then learn something. And sometimes to like build out that old like inner funk within us, we just got to do something different. It always goes down to like put yourself in a different position, literally every time.
I'm trying to find that balance. Like that's something I'm really struggling with. Is now I'm at a point where I do feel like I need to put myself out there more, get in those uncomfortable social situations. But I also have an addictive personality, so I know that like I can't go to the bar and have a drink. Like I'll just go south real quick. But I'm trying to put myself out there more. But then lately, kind of what I've been doing, and I don't want to turn this whole podcast into about me, but I
That's
feel
why you're
like,
on the show, man. It's all about you, dude.
yeah, I mean, I've been wasting a lot of time. Like I'll go out and just try and get out the house more, but then not really end up talking to people. And so I don't really accomplish what I set out to do. But then I'm taking time away from my business that could be spent making money. And it's like, I need money right now. And I feel like if I had money, I could go to like paid events and whatnot. I could buy nicer clothes, get a nicer haircut, whatever, whatever. And we could say all those are cop outs, but it's putting me in a tough situation where I feel like I need money to be around more people. But then to make money, I also need to be around more people.
Well, Austin's a good spot for it,
Yeah.
and most places are close to free, especially if you want to find high quality people. I don't know if you go to coffee shops too often. I don't think you do.
I've been
That's
going to one lately, but I feel like
yeah.
I keep going to the same one.
Well, that's also me too. I go to the
Yeah.
same coffee shop. They know me. You just sit down, whatever. But it is true. You have to make connections to level up in life. But then again, it also kind of goes back down to that point. You know, you're from the Midwest. You're in a different position right now than probably most people down there, down south. Even if Houston or Austin or whatever is more friendly and homey kind of feeling, there's a sense that when you're from the Midwest, you're really personable and about connections and family and these types of things. And people down south, they don't value that. So you can meet someone and talk to them. Oh, I'll help you with the business. I'll do this, and most people won't do it. So you also have to gauge whether or not connections are what you really need. Because I just had someone I was working for a website for, and then they just like totally dropped me as a client and just like never answered my messages and never paid me and just kind of, all right, see ya. That just happened like half a month ago. A person who was a noble businessman who was going to give me connections promised me 10 projects more. It's going to be great. Here, you just do this one thing for me. I allowed my inner nature of believing the person that was in front of me because they had the accolades of success as, oh, that means something. You know, people sometimes, man, they won't help you. And so if there's anything that you have to keep within you is that sense that you're right, when you meet people, they're probably full of shit because most of them are. But don't detract that from still making the connection. But this is all that, I mean, maybe that's terrible advice. I don't know. That's my starting point. Whenever I meet someone, I kind of just feel like, how is this person full of shit and trying to fuck me? Because 9 times out of 10, it always seems to be true. But
Mhm.
maybe it's because I start that way that then makes it true. And so these are those inner loops that happen at that level.
Mhm. Yeah. I like what you said about don't necessarily expect anything from them, but don't let that stop you from making the connection. Because I feel like that's a big part of what screwed me over in the past and what sent me into a lot of negative thought patterns was giving to people and then expecting something in return. You're never gonna, you should never like everything. I think you were saying it at the beginning of the call, pretty much like everything we do is self interested. Even when you give to somebody else, you do it for whatever reason that you want. But that reason has got to be just so that you feel good about yourself for doing it, not that you expect anything in return later down the road. Because the way I look at it is like if you give to somebody and expect something in return, well, now you're getting two things in return because now you feel like a good person giving to them, but then you also expect some sort of, gift or monetary thing from them. So you're getting two things from them while they're only getting one thing from you. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that can be true. You know, when you give out one thing, but then you're expecting multiple things to come in from it, often people just can't really provide that for you. And that's also like a trait too of being kind of a problematic person is if people start to associate your name with like a sense of burden around you because every time they interact with you they have to be on par in a certain way or they have to be as real as you, they may not like you just for that fact. I mean, this happens to me all the time. You know, people sometimes will talk to me for a week or two or three and stick around, then they'll just kind of disappear and fade off into the distance, almost like I never exist anymore. Because when they know that they're talking to me, you're talking to a different type of a person who actually is interested in you and wants the best for you, but I'm going to put you on the spot a lot of the time. And so people don't want to get into that mode with me because they know many times I'm just too real. And a lot of people don't want to be real. They just want to drift off into their fairy tale. So there is some sense too that you do have to create an artificial identity around yourself to match with the person that you're talking with on all levels so that you can actually form something positive there. I learned this a lot when I was, really younger because I would go to business like lounges with in hotels, and I would be this 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid homeless sleeping in my car, but I'd just be at the hotel bar, not even supposed to be there, talking about business with these older gentlemen that found something in me and said, "Hey, I'll help you with this or that." And I had many different mentors that came across in my life that seen something within me, but if they knew my actual condition, they probably wouldn't want anything to do with me. So there is a level to where you just have to kind of fake it till you make it, put on a certain image to get the right result with the right people. You have to do that. And it sucks because I'm now in a position where I don't have to do that. But in your early stages, you have to cultivate that believability about your character. And it will feel fake. It'll feel fake the whole time you're doing it. But one day
Yeah,
it will be real.
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, do you feel like that's you putting on a fake persona, or do you feel like it just feels fake because it's not in accordance to who you are right now?
Well, that's the tricky thing about being a better self, I guess, is if you want to like become your better self, you have to know what you're aiming towards, and it can't just be an imagination. Like, how are you going to get better? You have to start some action to initialize the journey of you then realizing the result. And so somewhere along there, you have to actually put on the clothes, put on the face, put on the this, the that, to actually step into making that result be true. And when you start that first step or those two steps within there of becoming that alternate identity, you're gonna feel like this is not me. But that's a common way of holding yourself back to be like, oh, it's not me. I'm gonna go back to who I was. Well, you already told yourself that you want to be this other thing, so then just follow through with it completely. So as I was talking to businessmen, in their 40s and 50s, when I was a 19-year-old kid, I started my business when I was 20, 22, 23, did a bunch of stuff. All of these things came through not me feeling ready for doing it at all. But I just said, this is what I want to be, so I'm just going to enact into it. And then I got smarter. I started to turn into the character.
So you feel like there is a realness about people, like you can be real, there is something real, or do you feel like realness is being able to embrace change? Like realness is being able to reform your identity, or realness is, I don't know, does that question make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like a question of can you be real even though you're somewhere off in the future in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because that's sort of, I think, that I always feel all the time. I'm somewhere in the future all the time. I'm having 5 different conversations with myself right now, just like boop, 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 boop. We always have to kind of be in the future in some way. But as long as you're present for the most part is taken care of, then there really isn't like a problem with it, I don't think. It all comes down to like internal judgment too. I mean, if you just didn't have an internal judgment center, then what would that do for you?
What do you mean by that?
So oftentimes a lot of the ways that we can grow or that would be really good for us to grow, we have these self-sabotaging mechanisms inside us that prevent us from growing. So a
Mhm.
parent will tell you a story like in your head that will like stick with you and you can't be that because XYZ thing. So a lot of our own problems of why we never really evolve is because we have stories or belief systems within us. And so when you're kind of creating an alternate identity for you to step into, you're basically saying no to all those belief systems and just stepping into it anyway. So it actually can be an act of courage if that new identity is in proportion to what you're actually trying to be and would even be good for you. But a lot of people, I think, they're kind of in alternate identities where they use that identity to portray things that they're not, and they're about things that like are even dumb. Like they're just trying to like mirror to people a form that they're not, or something. It's not like for their own interest, you know?
Mm, yeah, I feel like what might differentiate those two types of people is that, if you want to elevate yourself, you have to step into an alternate identity, like you said. But do you actually follow the actions, the habits of that person that you're trying to become? Or do you align yourself with different habits, but then when you're out in public, you put on this persona, but then you don't really follow through with it for yourself?
Yeah, you gotta do the whole thing, the whole roundabout. And that's what makes it healthy, I guess. I'm kind of under the impression that, we have multiple identities and multiple, like I call these things templates. So you have a template of yourself that you'll enact in a certain mode of reality. And each of these templates, I think that's what we're learning how to build internally. So you got like the gym mode template. Your gym mode, I'm going to the gym. You got that style of how you internally feel and everything is kind of aligned in a certain way. Then you step out the gym and you go home. Then you're in like a different operating mode. And so each of these modes are kind of those alternate identities. And so to me, I try to match what does the reality want for me to be? What's the optimal mode? And I just like configure myself to step into that mode. Sounds weird, man, but it's what you have to do. It's what I do.
Kind of like a chameleon.
Yeah, sort of, but you do it intelligently, you know? This whole like idea, I mean, there's like a lot of self-help people that talk about just be one person all the time for all things. And there's a simplicity in that, but also to me it just has never worked because I've never been one person. I'm always three different people in one, and so it's just a strategy that actually can't work for me.
Yeah. So,
You got an alternate version of you right there. It's just what does it look like? What does that person want? What is that person supposed to be doing? What does it look like? Manifest, all this like weird new age shit. It's sort of true, man, but all this stuff's kind of whack right now.
yeah, what do you think about all that manifestation type of stuff? What's your opinion?
I was deep into it a long time ago, man. Um, right when I was like 16, I was learning about this stuff, dude, and carried on with it for another 10 years. And there's a lot of utility in spirituality, but even I, especially these days, of kind of finding that spirituality is like a theme for how you're perceiving reality, right? And so I'm trying to kind of view these things all as like components of an operating system too, because there's nothing inherently spiritual about a whole lot of things. It's all about your perception and how you cultivate your own energy around a thing. I'd actually say that spirituality is really fucks a lot of people up. Like your one chick, she was spiritual, but look what that got her. So how did that spirituality help her? Because she was two different people at once. One to you and trying to manipulate you, and then another person when she was, getting railed at EDC. So spirituality clearly didn't work, and this is what I mean, man. None of this shit is real. It's just what do you want your reality to be? And then we grab all these things to make a package out of it that we use to communicate. You got to be a chameleon in some way. You got to. I'm constantly playing around with reality.
So you said spirituality is like a theme, like you have to pretty much how you define what's going on around you, but you can define that in different ways. But it would be you want to define it in a way that serves you. That's what you mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'll talk to spiritual people that all the time that have the wrong beliefs about stuff or have limitations to where they're able to go because their spirituality blocks them. I mean, so many things, like I said before in the beginning of the call, is like whether it's dark or light, especially dark because that's the most understood element. So many things are dark that make complete sense as to why they're there. And if you just kind of look at it, you'll see it has some utility for why it's happening. Like for me, for when I was growing up, I told you that I was violated when I was a younger kid on multiple occasions. A lot of people will use that as a form of defining their identity for the rest of their entire lives. See, this thing happened to me when I was a kid, and that's why I'm this way, and my trauma. But to me, at the time, I never really looked at it as if it was a bad thing, as if it was dangerous or I'm doing something wrong. So the trauma never allowed itself to fully imprint into me as how other people imprint it. Maybe I'm just too empathetic, I don't know. So I never wanted to accuse my attacker or take them down or any of these things. It's just like everything makes sense. And when things make sense, you don't have to do so much shit to solve it. You just go directly to your own priority problems. So spirituality is a tool that people use to justify their position.
Hmm. Definitely. I mean, I think one limiting belief that I always had was it sounds so fucking stupid and it sounds so simple, but I used to think I used to feel like people who made a lot of money were always assholes. But I feel like it's definitely not all about money. Life is not all about money. But a lot of people use that concept and they take it so that they can be mediocre in whatever they do. So that's one thing I definitely used to do. Like I would almost limit myself, limit the amount of work I put in school because I felt like, well, I'm blue collar. I want to be an honorable person. I want to be like my dad. And so I'm not gonna put on a front. I'm not gonna be like these white collar assholes. But it was all kind of just like, I don't know, self-limiting beliefs that I couldn't be that. Because if I felt like I could be that, then maybe I would have worked towards it. Because who the hell doesn't want more money? Unless you're already like filthy rich.
Yeah, it's confusing growing up with that because it's so contradictory. And when you're young, you're just starting to form your principles, if you even have them at all at those ages. And so much of the shit that you're going through doesn't even make any sense. I mean, I remember walking to the grocery store with my mom and I wanted this particular cereal, but because the cereal wasn't on sale, we had to wait till next week for it to be 50 cents off. And so I just remember like going home so pissed off. It was, I don't even know how young I was, thinking 50 cents is what's differentiating me between me getting what I wanted and not. So I just give you the 50 cents, we can buy it, right? Oh no, we got a coupon, like a principal thing. We don't want to buy things for the over the price. And I just remember being so pissed off at that, and that kind of really started to like coat the entire theme of my life growing up. Is like constant restriction, no money, we can't afford, brr, brr, brr. And when you're a young person, you just want to be like, why? Why am I in this position? Because everyone else has money. That seems to be the thing that solves everyone else's problems. And here I am having a problem because of money. So what the fuck? Like, it is money. Money is my problem. I just make more money. But it's like totally not after a certain level. But you got to go through that. I still have that problem sometimes. Like, if I just had more money, all my problems would go away. But I mean,
That's
I don't know. Sometimes not really.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's such a simple thing. When you're a kid, everyone, like, money doesn't even mean anything to you. So like, why don't we just have more of it? Why? It's like the thing that's preventing me from being normal like all the other kids. And it's true that Midwest feeling. That's what I'm kind of saying. I mean, you're familiar with it because you're from there. this sense like we don't want to be like those other people because they're rich and they take advantage of us. And so if you get money, you join that group and you're no longer a part of the family. But then, as you're trying to make a way for yourself and make money, but also trying to do your own thing, you get punished for not enacting the worldview that other people want you to be because they don't want to follow like your own feeling. They don't care about your mental happiness. They just care make the money. You quit that job. You shouldn't have done that because you had to get money. But yet we're not worshiping money. So what the fuck is it? All these
Yep.
things, man, I went through, dude, and it's just a nightmare. That's why I had to move. Move to where no one knew my name. No one had a past with me. No one just moved completely away from people.
What was the first place that you moved to?
Probably the best place that you could go to reinvent yourself. It was Flagstaff, Arizona. Flagstaff, Sedona, like the Red Rocks and all that kind of stuff. It's like
Okay.
the hippie epicenter of the world. And it was a really cool spot. I mean, it's kind of got weird now. It's a bit more corporate than normal. But that was definitely a cool thing to do, because that's for the first time I seen a mountain. The first time I seen other kids around me that weren't burdened by the world and were just young and free doing whatever, hiking, climbing, doing. It's like kids around where I'm from, they weren't doing that. They were working jobs at 20 years old and then getting married at 22 and having another kid at 23 and slowly started to get. By the time they'd be like 30 years old, they'd look like they're 45, balding. She's like, I don't want to do any of this. What are you
Mhm.
guys doing? Something in the water, man.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that, bro. Everybody on the south side of Chicago, people get a trade, they start balding by the time they're 30. They already got an alcohol addiction. You know, I know how this. How long did it take you to get established there when you moved to Arizona? Like to really, because I imagine, I don't know, was there a period where you just wanted to isolate, or was it just like, oh, I'm in a new environment now, I can mingle here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I ever really settled there, to be honest with you. Because as soon as like I basically got there, I got a girlfriend and basically moved in with her. And so I mean that was probably what saved my life. But also during that, I probably saved her life. Because she was addicted to weed and partying, had a bunch of friends all the time, and just was not in the right situation. And I kind of brought her out of all that and said, just let me live with you. We're going to get you off weed, off birth control, get you eating healthier. And I changed her life immediately in exchange for let me live there, basically. I mean, that wasn't what was discussed, but I mean, that's kind of what happened. And so other series of events kind of unfolded after that. And I don't know, it kind of turned out to be something really good for me.
So how, that's the same girlfriend that you had now?
No,
Everyone?
a few since then.
Okay.
Getting the girls has never been the problem, but keeping them happy always has been. Because it seems like they never. That's my tip. Find one that you don't have to keep happy.
Find one that you don't have to keep that. Yeah, man.
All the other stuff that we care about, man, just find one that doesn't have to require you to make her happy. All the other
True.
red flags go away.
True. I feel like that's a blessing and a curse. A blessing in the sense that she's not so reliant on you, but a curse also in the sense of like, I don't know, I feel like as men, sometimes we want that, you know, we want her to be attached to us to a certain extent.
This stuff could be a completely different podcast. We probably will do it. We'll go deep down the rabbit hole of past girl stories and what we think now. That would be fun, dude.
Yeah.
Especially talking about like all the. Because I went through a couple new age girls that basically had a very similar story to what you're doing, or what happened to you and with that one chick, man. And I often do think about that stuff like, wow, that's kind of crazy. And it does inform my worldview on women as a whole. Because there is this sense to like the red pill movement now, where it's like all women are bad. They're all like this. They're all gonna cheat and do this stuff. And I don't really like vibe with any of that because sure, a lot of them are that way, but also there's completely normal, well grounded, and oriented women out there everywhere. Like they're literally everywhere. And so the red pill is just addicted to a certain narrative of portraying them that way.
Yeah, I feel like it's been taken too far in that direction for sure. Because it's like there's an element of truth to it, but then it's like now you base everything off of this one narrative that, yeah, it's not true all the time.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's hard to say with a lot of what we need to do to grow and evolve. I think we're in a similar position in that, like we're trying to dream up the next, what's the next me? And I don't know. You just gotta consciously design it and ensure that you're doing it properly, but not really allow yourself to feel bad about when you fail. That's another good trait I think that I had growing up was when I failed, I just got back up again and did it, and I only cared about am I going to do it right or not, and I either did it right or I failed, and then I just kept going. I mean, maybe that's the skateboarder thing in me, I guess. I don't know.
I feel like that's a great trait to have because a lot of guys don't even afford themselves that opportunity to fail.
Yeah, fail, get hit in the face, fuck around, and then just like, did you get the result? Yes. All right, you're done. No. All right, go. And that's a recursive loop that just has to occur.
What's the next step for you, bro? Like what person are you trying to be? What's the person that you're trying to design? And then also like more materially, what are you looking to accomplish with this business moving forward?
Hmm. It's a good one. Well, first thing is I'd actually like to turn it into a business because currently it's just a podcast where I interview people like you and talk shit on the internet. So it's not a business at all right now, which is the main thing to change. I've been a web designer, developer, all this kind of stuff for like, I don't know, 10, 15 years. I've been doing it since I was 15. And I haven't really made any money from ever doing it, just like none. I'll do stuff for free all the time. Some people like it, some people don't. And so I'm kind of trying to transfer over my own personal like story of I can charge for what I'm worth. I think you're also in that similar position to where you have all this knowledge. Now like I can monetize it and not feel bad for, hey, can you give me $100 for what I did for you because like it's actually worth my time, that kind of a thing. And so that's my future, I guess. If I just accomplish that, that'd be fine. I have other means of making income online, it's totally fine, but that's what I'd like this thing to be because the more money this thing can generate, the more I'm only concerned with how to use it to then help people. Because I don't, I could be homeless tomorrow and I'd still be going to a coffee shop and drinking coffee and doing what I do now if I was homeless, because that's what I did a long time ago. So that's what I want to design. It's just more financial opportunities to draw people into this, what I'm doing, and then to build it bigger. What about you? What do you want to design for yourself? Where are you going?
I want to ask one more question before I get into that. So
For
like,
sure.
what's your plan to monetize?
Well, we've toggled around between a lot of different ways um, because not only can we do like the design agency version of it to where like let's say a small creator like yourself or whoever would come to us be like, hey, we got like our brand, but we want you to rearrange it and start to automate some tasks and make stuff for us, and we need a website, we need this and this. We're trying to be an everything agency to where whatever you give us, we just do it all. Because I have a team of myself and a couple people that are kind of basically we are the dream team. We can really do whatever you want to do, whether it's an app or a website or whatever. So that's basically what we want to turn into on that front. But also on our website, we want to have a membership portal to where we would monetize discussions like this. So if we're getting really, really real, that content's only available on the website, and we're going to put a lot of work into that too. Those are the two main avenues right now. There's probably more, but that's basically it.
And I noticed you said that you just want to, personally, you want to get to the point where you're more comfortable asking for what you feel like you're worth. That's something that I'm struggling with right now, and I'll get into that in a second. But like, what do you feel like you need to accomplish, or do you need to accomplish anything to be able to get to that point?
Well, that's also kind of an interesting question because when I think of it, I mean, I don't really have a personal website where I've displayed my work because I've just kind of like, whatever you need, I'll just do it. And I've been so busy doing stuff that I never really cultivated my own website. Hey, here's all the things I've done. Here's concretely what I can do, like almost like a sales page or something. And so the first thing for me is to actually create that. And so that's really the only thing. And that's an interesting thing when you think about it, because that's what you would have to do to then send a client. So that starts to get into that conversation where we're talking about how you have to morph yourself to where you're marketable to a person who would be helped by you. If you want something done by me, usually you just send a message and I'll just do it. But that's not a very good way to discover me. And so I have to put out myself in a digital form for people to discover me. And so that's just like a business thing, I guess.
So you feel like you need more people to come to you for you to start charging. And in order to do that, you got to market yourself in a different way, you said?
Market myself and display a list of things that I actually do. It's like all the work that I've ever done, just put on one page and be like, hey, here's what I can do. Because oftentimes when we're talking to people, they're trying to qualify you to be like, well, should I work with you? Can you show me stuff? If you actually build out a landing page that displays all that, and then they contact you after they've seen that, then there's no like having to manually build the rapport through a conversation. So it's like a funnel thing.
Okay, got you. Yeah, that's definitely something I need to work on myself. You built out that whole website for me.
Yeah,
To be honest,
you can start that at any time, really.
yeah,
It's
I
fully
just
functional.
I've been procrastinating on it so much, but I feel like definitely having a funnel would be something that would benefit me. But yeah, I mean, I guess for me, the next step is probably that, getting
But
some sort of a funnel. Like I got the website. Um, I don't know how I want to use that yet, and I'm having a very hard time, to be honest with you, getting inbound applications to my coaching program. I got a type form built out, and I link it on my YouTube videos. I have it linked on my Instagram. Hardly get anybody to apply anymore. So one thing I've been looking into, it seems like the new wave is creating a paid community. Right now, I got the Discord, but I'm looking into getting a paid school, if you've ever heard of it.
yeah, with the K,
Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking into getting that started up, and I figure like if you can get people to buy into that and provide that value through there, then they're that much more likely to want to work with me individually. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what the next step for me is, and I feel like I'm going through the same thing as you, where I have a hard time charging for what I feel like I'm worth. But I don't know, man. Sales is weird because it's like you have to have your own problems sorted out in life, just in life in general, to charge what you feel like you're worth. And like, I don't know, I'm going back and forth with what I feel like I'm even worth, like, and what my coaching is worth. So, like, I look at other people in the space and they charge a lot more than me. But then I get to thinking, like, is what they provide really that worth that dollar amount? But then I'm like, well, it's kind of just the market. If they can charge that and people buy it, then why can't I do it?
I think it's perfect because it hinges on that sense to where you want to kind of maintain a sense of morality, sticking to your principles. Like,
Yeah.
I want you to pay me, but I don't want to accept money for nothing. So I want to make sure that you get your money's worth. So I got to cultivate a value proposition, but your value is undiscernible in some sense because it's personal growth. So how do you sell that? I mean, you could charge $1,000 an hour, like realistically, or you could charge, $10 a month to my website. And I mean, it's kind of dependent upon the client situation, what they need. So when I think of Finn, I don't really think of someone who's selling fitness coaching. I think I even told you that.
Yeah.
That like fitness is your avenue for bringing the real you out of the fake you now. And that's a new, totally brand new industry. I mean, you're almost like reinventing spirituality at that point, but just through your own means. So it makes sense. It's hard to pinpoint how to price that or what that entails. And in some sense, you even have to be around the person that you're interacting with to do it, like in real live person situation, because that's how you get the result. So for your community, I'll send you a couple links of some communities that I know of that are monetized and making money and these things that I'm trying to model my own group off. But I think you can do it. You just gotta really discover what is your like single proposition value add. And I'd say that to get out of the fitness and more into the mindset will offer you even more opportunities. And then if you're just a fit guy who also talks about the mindset stuff, people like that more. Like, you know what I mean?
Say that last part one more time too. You think I should get more so out of the fitness into the mindset? And I would agree with you on that because I feel like number one, fitness coaching is so watered down, and it's like, what am I really doing for you if I'm not there working out with you? I'm giving you a fucking workout plan that you could probably find on bodybuilding.com, and I'm giving you a macro plan that you could probably do an hour of research and figure out yourself. So the real value comes from my accountability, the calls I have with them, and just being able to talk to them. But also, like, can you put a price on that? Like, because some person might really resonate with me a lot, and that call might be worth $1,000 to them. To another person, that call might be worth $2. So, but what was that last part you said about being a fit guy? What was
Yeah.
that about?
So that's what I mean. I mean, everyone every day is making fitness content. It's like all over. And people can really box themselves into just being a fitness coach these days. So their only avenue to make money is through, their course. But like you said, you can even talk to AI systems. Hey, here's my data in from my Apple Watch, make me a plan. That's all going to be like in 2 years. That's the thing. And so from now on, we kind of have to adjust how we sell ourselves. And so what makes you different from like the other person is that people want to be you in some sense. They admire you as a person. And so if you have all these really interesting qualities of yourself about self-development and self-help and how you've grown and you're fit, that's the combination that actually helps you a lot more than just being a fitness coach, then trying to sell the self-help and everything else. So if you kind of change the balance to where you come off at first from the mindset, because that's really what's needed, more than fitness in a lot of ways. I mean, we got Red Pill, we got all the. I mean, you probably know all the creators that kind of make this type of content. If you enter into that space and give them the mindset stuff, I think you'd grow 5 times faster. And if you're fit, it just helps that much even more.
Yeah. You have any advice for me as far as how to do that?
Just keep making your videos, man, that you're doing, and change up the scenery. And sometimes outside, sometimes, I mean, I'm always doing this stuff with my videos, man. Like how do I need to position myself in the frame to make myself believable to someone who doesn't even know me? What would that have to look like? And that's where you have to, in some sense, fabricate your surroundings, position stuff differently, and you're like, all right, this is here now. Like, make myself, you know, and it's weird shit. You just got to kind of do it, but your content's already there. It's just people. I mean, why they click sometimes and why don't they? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. Man, I hate figuring that shit out, but you gotta do it.
There's some people, man, that every time they post, they just get a couple thousand views every time, and or even more. And I'm just like, my information is better than yours. Why do you get the following? It doesn't make any sense, but I think it's the algorithm, man. A lot of it.
I think it is, and but I think some people too are just really good at fucking identify, like knowing human nature. Like that dude, Mr. Beast. Like every video he gets puts out like what 50 million fucking views.
Yep.
Part of that is algorithm, but part of that is him just being like key to human nature. I gotta believe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that a lot of it just comes down to you just need one or two videos that speak to a person and they'll be a forever fan. I mean, I watch nearly every single one of your videos. I mean, I don't comment or like every single time, but I'll throw them on. There's a number of creators that are like that. I just constantly got videos going on in the background, listening. Okay, that this person thinks that. Okay, you have to enter into the cycle where when someone clicks on your video or sees your face appear, they know that they're going to enjoy the next 15 minutes of their time. And once you enter into that cycle with them, then you got a fan. And I don't know how that necessarily works. I think you just have to get better at what you're doing, which I already think you're good at it. Maybe it's editing. Maybe you do have to edit your videos like a weirdo and then chop it up and add images in there. And maybe that's what the audience needs. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of hate that shit, but I'm starting to kind of do it myself.
Yeah. Might need to play around with it a little bit more. I feel like every time I was just watching somebody talk about this. I know you're on Instagram. Have you seen that guy? His name is Hub's Life.
No, I don't recognize it, but maybe I'd see it.
It's this dude. He puts out vlogs of him working like his 9 to 5 in insurance on Instagram. Um, but it's completely. It just looks like he lives like the most boring fucking life. But
Oh,
he's
I've seen this
blowing.
dude.
Yeah. And then there's another dude. I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name is Sam Sulek.
Yep.
But yeah, so his vlogs are just completely like unedited. Doesn't use that good of a camera. Granted, his physique is like fucking retarded. Um, but I was watching somebody talk about it recently, and they're like, the wave on Instagram and social media in general for the last couple of years has been like heavily edited cinematic shit, and now we're seeing a move towards more like people craving genuinity and like unfiltered stuff. But that definitely hasn't caught on with my channel yet or your channel, I don't think. So I don't know, maybe it's just a matter of time. I don't know.
I think it's a matter of time, man, because as we get into this weird transhumanistic sort of AI everything and people are putting chips in their brain, there will be a massive resistance to more technology. And so people will want like more pixelated videos. They'll want regular people that don't have graphics in their shit, just talking about whatever. And so it's not there yet, but it will be the medium that people will enjoy. So as long as you keep kind of harnessing yourself and making every video just a bit better, then I mean, it's fine. But the fitness market is really a niche market. For even for me, I would think it's hard to kind of break into the fitness industry I think that is all about connections, who you know. If you get someone like from Alpha Elite in your videos and interview on, like, your channel would just blow up and you'd be a part of that group now. I think it's very much about the cliques and groups and that.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely trying to go more towards the mindset, personal development direction though.
Do those videos, 3 tips for how to
I
5
hate those.
ways.
I hate those. Somebody was telling me to do that recently. And I'm like, no.
You have to do it, man. You have to sell your soul to some degree for the views. I won't do it, but I mean that's what people got to do. You got to be Mr. Beast. The beast system wants you to be a certain way, bro.
And I'm trying to figure it out because I feel like every time I do one of those, like it's so not genuine. It doesn't come off the right way. And I guess like I can work on it. I don't know. I don't know, man.
There's even a business strategy, like you could come off like that way in your free videos, but if you want the real me, come onto my member view, like, that kind of thing. I don't know. If I find the answer, I'll definitely clue you in, man, because I really don't know either.
I appreciate that, man.